Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Train Sim Classic, aka Railworks. Um, it's almost Christmas time. It's kind of wild. Yeah, the time has gone by real quick this year. I have been in school for the last year and a half. I have been working since then, or before that. Uh, so time has really gone by real quick since we moved to Pennsylvania. Um, yeah, here I sit, uh, 2 days before Christmas. This will probably be my last video of the year due to I should be starting work. Uh, Oddly enough, not as a gunsmith. I never could find a job for gunsmithing, unfortunately, but I did find a job working at the airport on the flight line again. So I should be starting that immediately after Christmas. Kind of figure I won't have time enough to make another video between now and next year, so this will probably be my last video of the year, and I thought I'd have a little bit of fun with it. We're not really doing a review video today. I don't see the point, and there's nothing new for me to really go over. I would have done trains video instead. I don't play TSC near as much as I used to. Trains is just overall a far better platform in my opinion due to how outdated TSC is and the lack of progress TSC ever gets, which we'll talk about a little bit. I think today's a good day to just kind of unload some frustrations, some perks, some irks, uh, just kind of chat. I would have done today as a live stream, but unfortunately my internet has played havoc for the last couple of days. So I'm having to pre-record and then upload as my internet allows. Yay. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know why it is, but it snows a tiny bit outside and suddenly my internet goes out the window, and it's like clockwork every single time, and I don't understand why, because I have fiber optic internet cables, so snow shouldn't bother it, but what would I know? Uh, Nothing really. I don't know jack all about internet crap, but such is life. Um, so yeah, I also didn't do a trains video largely because trains does not play with weather well at all. Like if your map is not made for winter and set to only be played in winter, it does not look good when you try to set the season as winter, because there are so many assets that don't change for the season or don't look good for the season, or some things get snow and some things don't. That is one of those real weird headaches that trains never developed out of, and I kind of hate it for it, but they still make more progress than TSC has in 10 years, so there's something. Uh, so yeah, we're stuck with TSC because TSC's winter scene looks better, and it's Christmas time. We want it to look like winter, right? Uh, we are using the AP weather pack, so you're gonna notice a snow change here, there, and everywhere because it is the variable overcast snow setting. Because I thought it'd be fun. We are on the enhanced CPKC sub from Train Sim Community? Question mark. It's the CPKC sub with some updates and upgrades around the route. Apparently, I haven't gotten to really go over them much. I just kind of eyeballed it with downloading that route, but such is life. Uh, you see before us, we have the Searchlight Simulations Canadian Pacific SD70s, because as far as diesels go, these are my absolute favorite to have been added to Train Sim Classic thus far. Not so much because I like them as locomotives. I despise modern railroading, really. It's boring in my opinion. Modern locomotives all look the same. They're all built basically the same. There's nothing really unique about them. Same with the freight cars. There's nothing fun to them. Not quite like the old days where you had the billboard reefers and no two steam locomotives ever looked alike. Like it just, and then the early diesels, you know, we're trying to work out diesel locomotive theory in general, so diesel locomotives are weird, true, and freaky. Looking at you, Baldwin and Alco, but I don't care for modern railroading, but as in the unfortunate ways of North America, we have two developers that produce North American diesels that are worth a flying flip, and Diesel Workshop being one of them. Their models are great, don't get me wrong. They're just, their physics are a little off. It's not something you will really can point out until you operate one of these Searchlight Simulations locomotives. Then it's painfully obvious. Searchlight Sims has their actual simulation physics and whatnot. They have them down like to a T. They're phenomenal. So they're a lot of fun to operate in game because they're easily the most advanced diesel locomotives we have for North America. Period. Nobody comes close. DTM isn't up. DTM has not progressed at all since they started making locomotives. You cannot tell the difference between his models today and his models in 2012. It's just how it is. Repo does all right, but he misses a lot of marks. And his releases are really few and far between. That's really all we have for North American diesels. We have DTM, we have Repo, Searchlight Simulations, and Diesel Workshop. Diesel Workshop's kind of the happy median. Their modeling looks absolutely phenomenal. They're really easy to operate, but their physics are just kind of meh. Searchlight Sims, their models are phenomenal looking and very much take some getting used to operate, because you definitely have to read the manual because they're pro simulated models. Downside to them is all they do is modern locomotives, period. They don't have any classics. And no, I do not consider an SD40 that is still a dime a dozen on the road today and out in museums and everything else. I don't consider that a wow classic. Gee, a stretch GP that we see a dime a dozen. DTM and Repo. Repo models have a notorious problem of crashing my sim too, so I really never play with his stuff. And then DTM. It's hard to really justify anything from his collection anymore. But ranting aside, that's pretty much my reasoning for why we're here today, where we are, the setup. We're using Searchlight Sims, best looking and running locomotive in my opinion. Not to say their other stuff isn't great. This is my favorite of their lot. Using Searchlight Sims freight pack, coal hoppers, because it's Christmas. Coal is kind of the thing as far as railroading goes. So we got a load of coal we're going to take over the mountains in the lovely winter setting as our snow lightens up here. Because why not? And we have some fun assets here at the very beginning to point out. Big thanks to Caledonia Works over in England with a nice freeware pack of Christmas assets. They've been available for some time. I just never looked at them because I do not really do scenario editing in Train Sim, and that's where these assets go into play unless you build an entire free roam or whatnot around some of these assets. But they're fun, like our sign here. We got Christmas lights around the crossing gate. You'll get, if you go check it out, I will put a link in the description where you can go find both the locomotives and these fun freeware assets, but they have got various Christmas lights, signs, statues, nutcrackers, uh, lighted Christmas trees, Santa Clauses. You know, just some fun stuff overall, because why not? It's Christmas. So let's hop into our train and get it set up and get going down the road here. And I'd say we'll chat, but unfortunately, again, we're stuck pre-recording. So I'll chat, and somebody can put their thoughts in the comments later on after the video gets posted. Can further chat there. So if it goes on, if it doesn't, it doesn't. Oh well, I'm not gonna be heartbroken. I do it just for the entertainment. So let's get our train set up here. Now, I'm gonna try something because I haven't had much luck. Supposedly, Searchlight Sims products are compatible with each other. They don't guarantee compatibility with anybody else's stuff, but supposedly they're compatible with each other. In my experiences, though, I have tried to run the SD70 with the AC44 here, and one or the other ends up dragging its brakes like nobody's business and screaming down the tracks. I don't understand why, but we're going to see if it does that today. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So, water generator filled up. Heater, because it's hot. It's cold. It's not hot. It's very much not hot. Crank up our heater here. Headlights. Or actually, those are ditch lights. That's our headlights. Is it? No, that's our tail lights. I always forget. Headlights are here behind the throttle, which is kind of a pain to get to. We're already at run. Now, one of the oddity parts of this is we cannot switch our headlight control on the SD70s. Generator field's already up. Cool. There's nobody in here. There's no reason to crank any of that up. Already at run. Can't change our our headlight control. One more back. Generator switch. Oh, right. Long hood is trailing. On oops, definitely don't need outside. There we go. Make our way back up. Some windshield wipers might help. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I actually tried to do this with the AC44s earlier, and boy, those windshield wipers will get annoying real fast on that one, because they get halfway, they squeak, and then they go over, and then they come back, and they squeak, and then they go over. That gets old real quick. The ditch lights don't seem to want to work. Maybe? No? There we go. Yeah, if you haven't checked them out, I think they're pretty cool. These Christmas assets from Caledonia Works. They're just kind of fun to stick in some little scenes here, there, and everywhere. Especially if you're shooting a video or want a fun screenshot, you can do something like this. Just because why not, you know? Kind of different. And really and truly, it's like one of two notable semi-new asset packs available for Train Sim Classic as a whole, which is beyond sad. But Caledonia Works has done a really neat job with them, I think. I would have added more lights and whatnot all around just for giggles and squiggles, but I didn't want to spend all day sitting here editing a scenario, because once I start, I don't stop. And yeah, we'd never get a video started. Nice! It's actually working this time. I'm not screaming. Like I said, last time I tried to do this, I don't know why, but the brakes would not release. I think the last time I tried to run the AC44 up front with the SD70s trailing, and the SD70s would not release their brakes completely. So it had that brake screech of dragging your brakes. Even though your brake pressure indicators showed that we were completely released. It drove me wild. Back into our cab here. I do believe speed limit's 20 through here, so should be good. Grab another notch, though. I don't think we're starting to grab a hill. Yeah, this is just such a nice locomotive. They did a really good job overall. And this is coming from somebody that I don't care for modern locomotives in the slightest. I don't get the enjoyment to them. I'm kind of one of those that if I want to play with modern stuff, I'll just go get hired at the railroad. You know, and get paid for it. I get that's not an option for most people, but for some of us that are old enough to work and have nothing barring us from any real job, but it just doesn't seem to be, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to be enjoyable. Not quite like running some steam locomotives where, let's face it, the majority of us don't have the option to even think about running one or learn how to run one unless we're buying live steam, and even that's kind of a stretch where if you ain't got a really good paying job, you're not buying live steam. Sorry. And then of course early diesel locomotives, there's some option to learn how to run one. You can run out to like a lot of these scenic railroads and whatnot. You can learn how to operate them, but again, that's kind of a, a weird niche where to learn to run classic diesels, you either A, need to be younger, where mom and dad are still footing the bill for you to live, or you do it on the weekends, or you're getting paid. If you're not getting paid, you're obviously not going to be able to do it as an adult. You got to pay your way through life. But, you know, it makes more sense to fiddle with early diesels in a train game. Whereas modern stuff, it's not particularly hard to get a job on a railroad. And it's not like you can't learn how to run them for the railroad, but if it floats the boat, it floats the boat, I guess. You know, I'm pretty sure I still have my bell ringing. Let's see. Sure do. That's better. We're at just the right incline where we got enough power to push it up and over in the but we end up speeding if I grab another notch. Guess I could just cut out some actually no, I can't. I forgot the key binds to cut motors in and out. Oh well. So yeah, here we are cruising along. I will admit I didn't set up a particularly heavy train for what we had. Question. Oh, it's not loading. Yeah. Not a particularly heavy train. Just something quick and easy that I could throw down. Truth be told, I probably have more power than I need. But such is life, I guess. Yeah, back on the assets thing though, it is. I was talking to one of the other developers the other day, a more prominent developer we all know and love, but I'm not going to name him for his sake. Don't want anybody knowing that he associates with me. It might tarnish his reputation for those of those people that think I'm a little harsh in my reviews. But yeah, I was talking the other day, and it kind of blows my mind that every other simulator on the market right now, we get new assets with routes, like new cars, new people, trees, that kind of assets. TSC doesn't. Every single route we get for TSC, as far as North America goes. Now, I know with British routes, it's not quite the same argument, but with North American routes, these Canadian and United States routes, they're all identical. They're all using the exact same assets from 10 to 12 years ago when the game launched. Like, you can legitimately tick mark Cajon Pass and it'll pull up the Cajon Pass assets, and then tick mark something like, oh, obviously CPKC Sub, which is quite a bit newer, or Hanover Subdivision if you want. That's a good deal newer. If you were conned into buying that latest Montana route from High Iron Simulations, guarantee you tick mark that one, and you'll see the exact same assets being used from Cajon Pass. They'll rename the beginning prefix something stupid, but like the bucket truck for working on wires, electrical lines and whatnot, that hasn't changed. They still use that in every single route. It's literally the same truck from 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And they just stick a little prefix in the front of it like, oh, it's something different. No, it's not. A lot of these blasted billboard trees are as old as the game. Now, CPKC here is a little bit different. They actually do use 3D trees up and down the immediate vicinity of the line. They're alright. Definitely not the best looking by any stretch. They kind of still blocky, but at least they're 3D trees, so some development there. But let me get back here. Yeah, these are not new. These billboard trees have been used time and time and time again. Really, they get old. So it's kind of mind-boggling to me. Like trains, you have access to thousands of route creation assets, and there are new route creation assets being made every single day for trains. Between the download station trains, Forge, jointed rail, really anywhere, any of the trains communities. Like, it is wild how many assets are available for trains and how many get made every single day. And yeah, here we are in Train Sim Classic, and when's the last time we saw an asset pack made for trains, or Train Sim Classic? That literally ever. As far as North America goes, I cannot remember anything besides the RCAP from Railworks America, which, again, kind of dated. A lot of the assets in that have been around a long time. A lot of them are not, they're freeware. So obviously they don't get used in these payware routes, or if they do, they're from one of the developers that makes crap for both. So it's kind of frustrating, really. And you buy 5 of these North American routes, and oh yeah, it's different, it's in a different region, and they look the same because they use the same blasted assets. And I don't understand how people defend that. Like, yes, I get time goes into physically laying the track and the assets and whatnot to make a route. But then again, most of the, quote, official route developers for Dovetail Games, it's not just one person working on the route. I mean, look at High Iron Simulations for a prime example. It's like 3, 4, 5 people all at one time, all at once working on a route. There's really no excuse to not be developing new assets to get rid of these antiquated flat 2D low res whatevers from the Railworks days. I mean, yeah, back in 2010 when you bought the game off the shelf in a disc, it was fine. It was mind-boggling, but your computer was also a pretty, chunky square. So it's wild to me that people defend that. Still, they're just like, oh yeah, it's the greatest thing ever. How dare you point it out? How you're an awful. You just don't buy it. Like, I bought Train Sim Classic many years ago. I get the right to complain about never seeing anything new anymore. I spent my money. It's just wild. It's wild. Now, as far as locomotives go, we do get a decent splattering of new locomotives here and there. Again, thanks to Searchlight Sims, Diesel Workshop. They push out the best diesels for North America, period. They only do, unfortunately, but they are definitely the best. As far as steam locomotives go, we're really limited. We have DSG DDR, we have Darlin. He does freeware steam locomotives that are absolutely phenomenally modeled, and they're beautifully animated. Definitely need sound work, and they definitely need physics work. They're not up to the physics levels of the majority of what Europe gets comparatively. Um, Now, credit where it's due, Darlin does do a lot of models that sound-wise, you're kind of hosed. Most of his models, you're going to be lucky to find an old grainy video of one with sound. Um, so I can't hate on him too much for that one, but his physics, not to hate on him, because again, his models are absolutely phenomenal, but his physics are not there. And then we get Machine Rail. Machine Rail does, once again, beautiful models. Their modeling is almost bar none. Darlin's modeling is definitely better. Not to hate on them, but Machine Rail does really, really nice modeling, and they actively show improvement, which is kind of a rare sight for North American modelers. They're not even North American. If I remember right, Machine Rail's from South America. But, yeah, they actively show improvement as each new model comes out. Which is mind-boggling to me, because none of the, quote, official devs show any improvement over the years. It's really wild. Machine Rail, we get, some people point to Smokebox. Smokebox is kind of in the same boat as Repo, where I haven't seen huge improvement between like his FEF, his Challenger, and his Big Boy. You kind of see the same modeling techniques. You kind of see the same corners that get cut. And while overall they're pretty good, they're again few and far between. He doesn't push out models near as often as Machine Rail. Now his physics are definitely bar none. His physics and simulation side of life is definitely the best as far as North American Steam goes. But his modeling and animation is kind of mid. DSG definitely does better animations and modeling, without a doubt. He gets a lot more in depth. Machine Rail, they don't do the animations very well. If their animations, they don't animate nearly as in depth, but their modeling is phenomenal. Smokebox does like to use photo texturing in some places, and it's noticeable. And then he's really bad about reusing sounds. I'm gonna step on a lot of toes saying stuff today. I really don't care. It's my channel. I can say what I want. Haha. But I'm kind of bored. I'm stuck sitting here until work pops up. We're poor, we're broke, can't really work on the house. That variable snow kicking in. It's nice and clear for a second. Man, I like listening to this locomotive too. It sounds good. Rolling Stock, that's a whole other story. They're kind of in the same boat as the Assets. Rolling Stock, it gets overlooked a lot. It's kind of a credit where it's due. Not a lot of focus gets put on Rolling Stock. Whenever DLC comes out, everybody wants to see either A, the locomotive, or B, the route. But Rolling Stock's just kind of oh look, this is also there. So I kind of get it on one hand, like nobody cares about the rolling stock, but on the other hand, people like me who do care, it really kind of grates on my nerves. Diesel packs that come out that are, official from DTG, get put on Steam and whatnot, you'd be hard pressed to find a lot of new rolling stock. I mean, the rolling stock that gets pushed out with these diesels is the same stuff from years ago that has never seen an update. It's got nothing. Got no good sounds. Modeling looks long, old. Physics are a joke. Uh, they were fine for 2010. Not for now. That's not to say that we haven't gotten anything. I mean, again, here we are, Searchlight Simulations. Whole string of coal hoppers there that are phenomenal. They sound great, they roll great, they run great. But again, they're kind of the only ones in the business as far as modern rolling stock goes. It's Searchlight Sims or nothing. Now what's really cool is Searchlight Sim packs are free. You do not have to pay for their rolling stock, their free pack. But it is geared entirely to modern railroading, period. Which is fine, it goes with what they produce. But if you fiddle with anything other than model railroading, or modern railroading, I should say, it doesn't really go along. Again, you're kind of a Crab's Creek. Machine Rail has been picking up a little bit. They have actually been producing some really nice rolling stock lately with their last few steam locomotives that they put out. They have included some nice custom rolling stock. It's actually new. It's not the same old reskinned hoppers from 10 years ago or freeware. They've done a freight pack, a flat car pack, which was really cool. It was really, really niche loads, but the cars themselves were really cool. And then they've also done I forget if it was Diesel Workshop or Machine Rail. I'm pretty sure it was Machine Rail. They kind of go hand in hand. They used to be the same group of dudes, but they also did an open auto carrier, which was awesome. Oh gosh, really, really nice. So Machine Rail, yeah, they're starting to get some traction with building new rolling stock. And then Jointed Rail just kind of does it in the background. Not to take off any work that they do. Again, their rolling stock is phenomenal. They're just, I don't think they get near the attention for the rolling stock that they do their locomotives. And that's kind of it. Nobody else does rolling stock. I know somebody's going to go, DTM! Nah. DTM hasn't done nice quality new rolling stock in a long while. And take note what I just said there. Nice quality rolling stock. New. Again, High Iron Simulations, they use freeware from Michael Stavan, Great Northerner. You can go download literally everything that they produce, besides like the MSTS conversions. Like all those flat cars, hoppers, box cars and whatnot, you literally can go get them from Golden Age of Railroading right now for free, and probably find the reskin you're looking for. If that skin's not included in his pack, you can probably find that reskin on Railworks America. None of their rolling stock is new. Most of it is as old as the game itself. It boggles my mind that people pay for that crap and go, oh my gosh, yeah. Like, I could have just downloaded it and saved yourself $5, bud. Such is life. Some people are dumb. Yeah, I said that. I'm sorry, but if you're too lazy to figure out how to download freeware, that you pay for it and then claim it's the greatest thing in the world, you're dumb. I'm sorry, you're dumb. uh, just mind-boggling. Rolling stock, it doesn't get any attention. It's wild how North America is probably the second largest market for Train Sim Classic 2. And yet, we are leagues behind Europe in terms of quality of content and what gets produced. Comparing what we get right now to stuff that comes from Bossman Gaming, Victory Works, Caledonia Works, Steam Sound Supreme, like it's not even funny. Trains for, or what is it, The Forge? The Forge, oh my gosh. I dare say, and this is an opinion shared by a couple of the other big developers that are very noteworthy, but I dare say their BR01, oh my gosh, is one of, if not the best steam locomotives produced for Train Sim Classic to this day. Whether you like German steam locomotives or not, they're phenomenal. They sound good, they look good, they run good, they're very in-depth, they're modeled very well. I mean, it is just wild. Not even remotely close to what we get. Yeah, it's wild to me. And Germany is kind of, to be, I'd lump Germany in with the European content, because it's always been kind of a, oh yeah, country. It's always, when Railworks came to be, it was always North America, England, and Germany. That was the three big ones. And then afterwards, Germany just turned into an extra. Like, England, Great Britain, whatever you want to call it, they get new content left and right like nobody's business. And then North America would get something for every like 5 that England would get. And then Germany, they might get something. They're probably, they definitely are the worst when it comes to getting new assets though, because wow, some of those German routes that I have bought that are brand new made and look just like the Hagen Siegen from when the game launched. Kind of wild. I definitely feel for the Germans. They got screwed. That is a bridge. Oh well, I blew my horn at it anyway. But yeah, the Forge is really carrying Germany when it comes to high quality steam locomotives, because wow. You get things like Force Gaming for Europe. They've done a phenomenal job, and I've talked to those guys. Their big thing is small steam right now. They did they did a little tram. They did the Nielsen boxes, and they're so stinking cool. They run good. They look good. They're animated really, really well. They sound good. They're one of those odd developers that I really just could not find much to criticize. I like to this day still say that their smoke effects and their steam effects are some of the best, period. They look really, really good. They've been working on a 7F. It'll hopefully be coming out in the near future that I look forward to. That is one of those locomotives that it's kind of dear to me just because I grew up with Railworks. I chose Railworks over Trains because way back in the day when I got into it, Railworks graphics was definitely better than Trains without any hint of a doubt. And that was one of 5 steam locomotives that we had. We had the BR-52. Boy, that one looks dated. I forgot about that one too. But we had the BR-52. We had the Black 5. We had the 7F. And then since I bought mine as a disc at Walmart, it came with the IHH Challenger, which also had a Freelance Dish 280 that was just kind of thrown into it. That was it. That was what we had. So I played that 7F a lot. So it'll be really, really nice to get the opportunity to run a nice, up-to-date, well-modeled version of that 7F for today's standards. Because that old one it's just that it's old. It shows its age, and it's hard to go back to it. Yeah, you do it. Some people do it for nostalgia, but it's still hard to pair up next to some of this other stuff. It's so much newer and so much better modeled. Still 35, yeah. We got 7th. Oh, Force Gaming. What else we got along ours? Of course, we got Caledonia Works. They produce some gorgeously modeled locomotives. They're another one of those where they're kind of hit and miss sometimes. Their modeling is really, really good, without a doubt, but sometimes what they animate makes no sense. What gets animated and what gets skipped makes no sense. And I've made that known in some of my videos. I've never talked to the guys at Caledonia Works. I don't know anything about them. They don't say anything to me. I don't ask them. I just play with their stuff. Their models look really, really good. I mean, they did the Australian tour and the USA tour, Flying Scotsman, and I've been set ever since. Like they're phenomenal. It's such an awesome pack. The Flying Scotsman pack from them is just mint. But again, sometimes I don't entirely understand why they do what they do. Victory Works, they're an odd one. Victory Works produces... Their choice in locomotives has always been odd to me. Like, they produce the USATC S160s. Very, very large pack. Massive amount of content. Custom sound sets. I mean, the works with it. And it's only $20. Like, it's one of those it's hard to argue with, but their texturing is okay. I've never been hugely sold on their texturing, but it is kind of odd what they choose. Their modeling is really, really good. Like, what they physically make on their models is good. Very detailed. They're, again, pro-line operation steam locomotives. Their packs are always nice and full of all sorts of stuff, and they're very highly customizable. They're really the only guys that I know of that make models for TSC that make really customizable models with all sorts of bells and whistles that you can change according to your desires in the scenario editors. But their texturing has always been kind of... it looks very much like a video game, for lack of a better term. And I know how that sounds. We're playing a video game, but their texturing is not nearly on par with like what we're looking at right here. Like this passes for simulation quality, where Victory Works passes for video game quality texturing. It's very odd. We have Bossman Games. They're another one of those I don't quite understand. Bossman Games, he's improved a lot over the years. You can definitely see it between his very first models and what he's pushing out today, but sometimes it's another one of those where I don't understand why. Like, one of the latest is a pannier set. Never mind that Victory Works literally just pushed out pannier sets, so why did we need another set of panniers? And then they did a large prairie. Victory Works had already done a large prairie, though, that's really quite nice. So, I don't quite understand why they're producing models that were already produced. For some people it floats their boat. I haven't actually had an opportunity to fiddle with Bossman Games' large prairies to kind of see the difference between that and Victory Works models. What I have gotten to play with, I will definitely say Bossman Games does much better texturing. Their texturing looks a lot more realistic than Victory Works, but their locomotives tend to play really different. I don't want to say it's necessarily an improvement or an improvement. It's just kind of a step to the side, which is a weird way to describe it, but it's how it makes sense to me. We got Bossman Gaming's. There's another developer we got for TSC that... Oh, I kind of forgot about them. I haven't looked at anything from them in a long time. There's Wayside Works. They produce a lot of nice quality freeware for European modelers. Heavy focus on shunter, tank, small locomotives. Ooh, we finally hit a hill. Get to grab a new notch and listen to that. And open a window just because I like to listen to this locomotive. As I have the heater going, because, why not? Have the heater going and then open the window. We'll just turn the heater up. Oops. But, yeah, they got Wayside Works. It's really wild. The collection of modelers that produce really quality models and show active improvement for Europe, while here in America we have DSG DDR, we have Machine Rail, Diesel Workshop, Searchlight Sims. That is the four. Oh, there it goes. I believe we're speeding. We are. Let's cut it down to notch 3 and let it kind of coast. Yeah, it's a lot of frustrating. To make a long story short, it's a lot of frustrating how development in TSC is just so stagnant compared to like trains. Again, trains, you see new assets daily. We see new route designs daily, which may be good, may be bad. The new routes are hit and miss more often than not for trains, but still, you see them being actively worked on. Of course, same with the assets. It's hit or miss on whether or not they're decent quality, but at least people are trying. It's more than you can say for TSC. Plethora of modelers in trains as compared to Railworks. And trains doesn't seem to have a fraction of the amount of bugs that TSC does. I have never once had trains crash out on me. I have seen some weird bugs with like exhaust smoke playing weird with an asset or something. But I've never had trains just straight kick me out of the game because it didn't like a model I was using. A single locomotive, and bam, it came out of memory error. Whereas Railworks has done that for years, and there's been zero improvement for it. It's wild. Run 8. I don't know a whole lot about Run 8. Run 8 is not my cup of tea. It is, to my knowledge, still considered arguably the greatest simulator for North America if you're aiming specifically for simulation. And graphically, it looks really good now. Back in the early days, it kind of looked, kind of looked dated, but their focus wasn't the graphics back then. It was entirely the simulation, which would be fine if there was any aim at all towards some classical railroading. Ren 8 is very much geared towards modern railroading. I do believe that there has been a classic pack of like F units or something for Run 8, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time since I saw information on that, but there's nothing steam locomotive wise. Really nothing classic diesel wise, nothing electric wise, no antique rolling stock. I mean, it is geared entirely towards modern railroading, which, if that floats your boat, cool beans, good for you. It's laughably better than Train Sim Classic or Trains, for that matter. The options for Run 8 are just so much better for modern railroading. If you're like me and don't like modern railroading much, though, it's gonna be a game you're just kind of gonna look at and go, nah. There's Open Rails. Open Rails is kind of a, I don't know, I don't want to say gimmick, but it's more of a beating a dead horse. Open Rails is MSTS, Microsoft Train Simulator, and it just kind of keeps getting drug along. Credit where it's due. I don't see much from Open Rails anymore. It's kind of one of those that it hit it off real big at first. It was all freeware. It's still freeware, which makes sense. I mean, it's old, it's dated. But in recent years, it just kind of hit a brick wall. You don't hear much about it. You don't see much about it. It's not one that floats a lot of people's boats. Just kind of there. Of course, we have more recent items in the form of Railroads Online and Railroader. Railroads Online left some sour tastes in a lot of mouths for good reason. It's one of those games that promised a lot and didn't deliver at all. For lack of a better term. They had big plans and pretty much hit a brick wall. Lots of infighting. Lots of developer changes. Yeah, it is what it is. And then Railroads Online just really missed the simulator aspect. It's more of a Railroad Tycoon style game in first person than it is a simulator per se. There's no locomotive simulation. Like, honestly, yeah, pretty sure I just set off the emergency brake. But yeah, there's nothing really per simulation wise for Railroads Online. There's nothing at all locomotive-wise. Like, you don't do anything in the locomotives. Did I set them off? I might not have set off the e-brakes. We might have just hit a weird spot. Let's grab Notch 8 and see what... I think we just hit a weird spot. Yeah, I'm crazy. Oh well. Man, it winded down just a second ago like I had missed the emergency get set off. Oh well. Such is life. But yeah. Railroader is kind of the same story. Railroader, it was really, really fun when it kicked off, and then after you played it for a while, it kind of got old. The scenery there hasn't been a scenery update at all, period. They have done a lot of work on the game after it released. I will give it credit where it's due, but some of the work just didn't make sense to me. Like, they've already put out a content update for a game that already had decent content and doesn't look finished, so I didn't see why we needed content already. It's been stuff like that where it's just kind of like, I don't know that it was needed kind of updates. And once again, it's not really a simulator. It's still very much a business style tycoon game that's in first person with trains. You know, the locomotives are not deeply simulated or modeled. They're cool for what they are. They're just, it's not an in-cab train driving simulator per game. Derail Valley's another one. I haven't played much with Derail Valley. I got it specifically because it was VR and we were playing with VR systems. And I couldn't get over the nauseousness that VR gives me. It just, boy, it makes me feel sick. And I tried to play Derail Valley for about an hour in VR, and yeah, it murdered me. I haven't gone back to it. Apparently, it's really taken off. Visually, it's not entirely my cup of tea. It's very painfully obvious that it's modeled for somewhere overseas-ish. So yeah, it doesn't really float my boat. It's not really my style, but apparently they really got something going with it. We got Derail Valley, we got Simrail. Simrail is one that has really starting to get some traction anyway. I don't know a whole lot about him. I've seen what SP has done. I've seen his videos on it. Simrail looks pretty good. It's another one of those simulators though that it's very region specific, and if that region doesn't float your boat, well, you're kind of up Crab's Creek. It's very much geared towards like German area, which is cool in and of itself, but they only just put out a Steam locomotive, so maybe I'll look into it now. Now that they've got something that kind of scratches my itch a little more. But apparently it's pretty nice for what it is. And then, of course, they've got the ever-dreaded Train Simulator World. That's such a gimmick. It ain't even funny. I can't believe people still buy it. That's a game that doesn't have a reason to exist. I know if for console, maybe-ish, if Dovetail Games actually pushed DLC and updates out for Train Sim World on console, but they don't. They push out an entirely new game every year. That I don't understand why. Like, oh look, it's Train Sim World 5. Why? For what reason did it need an entirely new game that you gotta buy separately so that you get a lighting update? Big wow. Like, I don't follow it. I don't care about it. I don't understand it. I don't understand why it exists. It's just one of those that's just meh. If you like Train Sim World, good for you. Nobody will be able to convince me that there's a reason that games should exist outside of consoles. You know, it is what it is. We've actually made it pretty far. A lot farther than I thought we would make it here. Let's see. We're going to end up going off this way, I think. Splitting, but that's okay. Was there anything I'm missing railroad-wise? It's really been a big thing lately. Not so much simulator-wise. I know everybody's talking Century of Steam. I'm gonna be the weird one out and say I'm not getting my hopes up for it. You know, if it releases and it's phenomenal, great. But I have been disappointed by every single game that has had big hype behind it lately. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I jumped on the Jedi Survivor bandwagon, and boy, did that flop right out of the gate. Poor enhancement, poor gameplay right off the bat, a lot of crashing. Just wow. And then again, Railroads Online bought into that hype. That died. Railroader, I don't think necessarily lost its hype. I just think a lot of people got the wrong impression and thought it was going to be more of a simulator than it is. And it turned out to not be, and it just didn't float their boat. But Railroader, kind of a neutral. But so I'm not going to get my hopes up for Century of Steam. You know, if it comes out, great, awesome, good for them. But, you know, if it comes out and absolutely flops like a lot of these others, I'll be the one that can say I wasn't surprised. You know, again, it is what it is. Not to be a Debbie Downer, but we don't exactly have phenomenal examples right now to point to say otherwise. So, such is life, as they say. That's kind of cool. I don't think I ever noticed that. Oh, we're cruising a little bit quicker than I meant to. Isn't there supposed to be a bell light? There is. It's kind of entertaining how far I can go without hearing the bell in the cab here, because it is really quiet in the cab. Definitely not out here, but... The AC-44s always kind of kill me. They almost sound like their dynamics are going off. And they're not. Just the motor whine. Oh, dummy. Oh. I've been seeing some stuff from DSG DDR lately. Some of the models that he's working on, and some of the improvements that he's working on. I look forward to them. He does. Again, he's probably one of the best in the business as far as modeling and animation goes. So I can't wait to see what he's got in store for us. Well, I can see some of the stuff that he's got in store for us, but I can't wait to get to fiddle with it. Again, he does a really, really good job. He's a really good dude. Really cool, really understanding. So we'll have some fun stuff coming from him in the near future. That was an odd track to be set back there. I believe it's gonna take us off. It is. That's just fine. Machine Rail. I don't know what they got up their sleeve next. I have actually juggled the idea of contacting them and commissioning a locomotive from them, largely because I'm kind of tired of expecting something at this point. For all of the North American steam era routes that we have, there's not a generic steam locomotive for any of them. Every single one... Oh, wow, we kicked off our sander. I haven't had to do that in a while. But, every single steam locomotive era route that we have available for North America all has really, really specific steam locomotives made for them, or nothing at all. Like the Western Maryland steam locomotives, for example, from Machine Rail. They're phenomenal models, don't get me wrong, but you're really limited on where they fit in prototypically. And it's really not a good model to modify and turn into something for somewhere else. Same for Smokebox's models. His little 280 was a real kind of nice point for a generic basic locomotive, but another one of those where its usefulness on a lot of routes is kind of limited. So I would like to commission a USRA model, a USRA Mikado to be exact. The USRA light Mikados were used by a plethora of major railroads in the United States. So it's a really, really good basic locomotive that one can take the base model of, add a few details, move a few details, and bam! You have a Baltimore and Ohio Mike. Change up a couple colors, put a new builder's plaque or a new number plaque on it, and bam! You have a Pennsylvania Railroad Mike. Put a crown stack on it, and the pump shields up on the front. Change paint scheme, and bam! You have a Texas and Pacific model. Oh, that's interesting. The PCS tripped, but it didn't set off the alarm. Interesting. Oh well. Train line emergency. To clear emergency, move handle to emergency. Alright. Oh, what I hit. Or was I just, it was probably because I was speeding, now that I think about it. Ah, we broke loose. Well, that was kind of the point in having a pusher back there. Keep us compressed. Oh well. We busted a knuckle. Where did we bust the knuckle? Right there. Interesting. My AC-44 not enough to keep us compressed enough to go up the mountain? I have no idea. But yeah, I never understood why nobody bothered with a nice generic steam locomotive that we could modify to fit in anywhere. And a USRA mic it really fits for a lot of the routes we already have available. You can modify it for just about any of the major available railroads that we have. Union Pacific, Southern Pacific, Pennsylvania Railroad, Baltimore and Ohio. Oh, I don't know if Southern Pacific owned any, actually, now that I think about it, but I'm definitely certain that UP's. T&B. Shoot, who else? I know there's a nice long list. Pretty sure New York Central ended up with some, if I remember right. But yeah, it just seems like a logical locomotive to use. And yet, here we sit with very road-specific stuff that fits on one single route, maybe. It'd just be nice to see a nice generic locomotive. So I might, at some point, we'll see. Depends entirely on finances. I love that you can push on these, but it doesn't change anything. Ah well, it's probably a good time to call the video anyway. Maybe my internet will come up long enough for me to post it. We'll see. I haven't had internet for the better part of the day though, so big doubt. Anyway, that's interesting. Hope you guys enjoyed the ride along up until we busted a knuckle. My dumb self not paying attention entirely. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the ride along. Enjoy the Christmas spirit. Like to hear me bitch and complain about various simulators and their problems. And if you don't, that's wild, bro. You can go to the next video. I don't know what to tell you. If you do, here you are. Cool beans. Hopefully I'll be able to do a live video beginning of next year and actually be able to answer questions people have or whatever, instead of doing these pre-recorded videos every time, because sometimes the live videos are fun, but again, such is life. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you next time, or next year.